Yo, welcome back to the most infamous series on this channel where I compare two albums by going track by track to see which track on which album is the better track. Today, we got a really special video coming up. Kanye West versus Tyler, the Creator. And guys, of course, spread that juicy Korean love. Good Morning versus Forward, and I love Forward, but I'm going with Good Morning. It's the more iconic intro track. Then we have a Champion versus Where This Flower Blooms. Ultimately, I think I'm going with Champion. It's the more catchier song. Stronger versus See You Again. This one's kind of a hot take, but I'm going with See You Again. Stronger is phenomenal, but See You Again is just a perfect track. Then we have I Wonder versus Who Dat Boy. Between these two, I like the hard-hitting banger from Tyler, but I have to go with Kanye here. Good Life versus Pothole. Again, I love Pothole. Great song, but this one's Good Life. Can't Tell Me Nothing versus Garden Shed. I'm gonna go with Can't Tell Me Nothing. Top 2 on Graduation. Barry Bonds versus Boredom. Barry Bonds does go overhated, but this one is Boredom for sure. Drunk and Hot Girls versus I Ain't Got Time. Not even a debate, not even a question, not even an exclamation point. This one's I Ain't Got Time. Then Flashing Lights versus 911 Mr. Lonely. The production on Flashing Lights is immaculate, but Tyler's performance on 911 is a bit better and more personal than Flashing Lights. I'm gonna go with Tyler here. I think he honestly has the best song out of the whole list here. Everything I Am versus Dropping Seeds. This one's Kanye. The Glory versus November. I'm gonna go with The Glory. November is kind of a forgettable track on Flower Boy. Still good, but not as good as The Glory. Homecoming versus Glitter. I'm gonna go with Homecoming. Amazing, catchy song about the city of Chicago. And Big Brother versus Enjoy Right Now today. Enjoy Right Now is a fine closing track, but this one's easily Big Brother. And that leaves us with 9 points for Graduation and 4 points for Flower Boy. Next we have Life of Pablo versus Call Me If You Get Lost. Starting off with Ultralight Beam versus Sir Baudelaire. I mean, this one has to go to Ultralight Beam.
We are an ultralight beam, we are an ultralight beam. This is a God dream, this is a God dream.
The conviction, bro, the passion. Next is a pretty hard one. We have Father, Stretch My Hands. I'm going to include part 1 and 2 together versus Corso. Although Corso is top 2 on the album, I have to go with Father, Stretch My Hands. Even including part 2 because part 1 is just phenomenal. The beat drop is insane. Even Kanye's wacky, tongue-in-cheek lyrics are so much fun. Famous versus Lemonhead. Listen, I love Lemonhead, I love it. One of the best songs on the album, but Famous is just on another level. It's the greatest Taylor Swift diss track. Feedback versus What's Your Name. This one's What's Your Name. Highlights versus Lumberjack. I like Lumberjack, but I think Highlights is so much more dynamic. There's so much going on sonically. And then we have Waves versus Hot Wind Blows. This is the toughest one for me so far, but ultimately I went with Hot Wind Blows. The way that Tyler builds the atmosphere on this track is phenomenal. It has an insane Lil Wayne feature as well. It's the toughest matchup, both amazing tracks. Then we have FML versus Massa. This was Massa. I love the darker vibe to it. Real Friends versus Run It Up. This one's going to the emotional performance on Real Friends. Wolves versus Manifesto. I thought long and hard about this matchup here. I love Wolves, but right now, I'd rather listen to Manifesto, one of Tyler's most underrated tracks, period. The production is fantastic. Tyler's rapping is phenomenal too. Tyler just drops bar after bar on this one. Amazing performance from Domo Genesis as well. 30 Hours versus Sweet, I Thought You Wanted to Dance. I'm not the biggest fan of 30 Hours, so this one's pretty easily Tyler here. And then No More Parties in LA versus Rise. I'm going with Kanye. Facts versus Juggernaut. Both great, hard-hitting bangers from their albums, but this one's Juggernaut. It has that classic Pharrell production. Fade versus Wilshire. If you guys know me, I'm not the biggest fan of Wilshire, so I'm gonna go with Fade. And finally, Saint Pablo versus Safari. This one's easily Saint Pablo. And that's a total of 8 points for The Life of Pablo and 6 points for Call Me If You Get Lost. 808s and Heartbreak versus IGOR. Two sad boy albums from Kanye and Tyler. First off, we got Say You Will versus IGOR's theme. Both amazing intro tracks, but I'm gonna go with Say You Will. The song has truly grown on me over the years. I love the atmosphere it creates. Then we got Welcome to Heartbreak versus Earthquake. And while Earthquake is beautiful, I have to go with Welcome to Heartbreak. Heartless versus I Think. Controversial choice here, but I'm gonna go with I Think. Heartless is fantastic. It's a catchy single, but it has been overplayed, whereas I Think is just so creative and fresh. It's a lot weirder and quirkier, but still manages to be extremely catchy. Possibly top 3 on IGOR. Amazing versus Running Out of Time. I'm gonna go with Running Out of Time. Both tracks on the same level though. Love Lockdown versus New Magic Wand. This one's pretty easily New Magic Wand. Paranoid versus Boy Is a Gun. I love Paranoid, but I'm gonna have to go with Tyler here. The production on this track is just incredible. RoboCop versus Puppet. I love Puppet. Don't get it confused, but RoboCop is the best song. My personal favorite song on 808s and Heartbreak. Streetlights versus What's Good. Again, What's Good is fantastic, but Streetlights takes it here. I love the ethereal sound. It's one of those perfect late night driving songs. Bad News versus Gone Gone Thank You. I'm going with Gone Gone Thank You. Then See You in My Nightmares versus I Don't Love You Anymore. Both on the weaker side of their respective albums, but I'm gonna go with Kanye. And Coldest Winter versus Are We Still Friends. I'm gonna go with Are We Still Friends. I think the ending is just so bombastic and climactic. It's a really cinematic way to close out IGOR, and that's a grand total of 5 points for Kanye and 6 points for Tyler. Alright, we got a humongous one coming up next. We got Donda versus Wolf. I know it's a weird comparison, but both track lists are kind of long-winded, a bit inconsistent, but overall, we got 2 great albums. Jail versus Wolf. I'm gonna go with Jail. God Breathe versus Jamba. God Breathe is a pretty underrated track from Donda, but this one's Jamba. Off the Grid versus Cowboy. Kanye. Hurricane versus Awkward. Kanye again. Praise God versus Domo 23. This one's tough because I love Domo 23. I love Domo. But right now, I'd rather listen to Praise God. Baby Keem, Travis Scott. You cannot get any more hype than this. Jonah versus Answer. I'm going with Answer. One of Tyler's best songs. Okay Okay versus Slater. I'm going with Slater. Okay Okay is very mediocre. Same with 48 and Junya. I'm going with Tyler here again. Junya is a very average song. But Believe What I Say versus Colossus. I'm going with Believe What I Say, which might have my favorite beat on the entirety of Donda. It's incredibly bouncy and fun. That Lauryn Hill sample flip is it's a chef's kiss right there. And then I split up the 3-part track into 3. We got 24 versus Parties and Over, and this one's 24. Remote Control versus Campfire. Both not my favorites on their respective albums, but I'm gonna go with Campfire just by a smidge, by a hair. And then Moon versus Bimmer. Bimmer is easily the best part of that song and one of the best moments on Wolf, but guys, come on. This one's Kanye. Kanye, Kid Cudi, and Don Toliver singing together. It's like a 3-way of beautiful sounds. Plus, that production is so beautiful and ethereal. Alright, Heaven and Hell versus IFHY. I love Heaven and Hell, but this one has to go to IFHY. Keep My Spirit Alive versus Pigs. I'm going with Kanye here. Another underrated track from Donda. I love the Griselda collaboration.
Jesus Lord.
Versus Parking Lot. This one's Kanye as well. I'd say top 3 or 4 on Donda. New Again versus Rusty. I'm going with Rusty. Lord, I Need You versus Trash Wang. Trash Wang is the worst song on Wolf, so this one's going to Kanye. Pure Souls versus Tree Home 95. This one's going to Pure Souls. Come to Life versus Tamale. Easiest choice of my life here. Come to Life. And No Child Left Behind versus Lone. I'm actually going with Lone here. I think this is a fantastic closing track by Tyler. And overall, we got 12 points for Donda and 8 points for Wolf. And finally, to finish off this classic Korean Einstein video, we're gonna compare Jesus is King versus Cherry Bomb. Now listen. These are 2 completely different albums, sonically, thematically, but there is one thing that these 2 albums have in common. It's very inconsistent. They're both essentially like 5 out of 10 albums. So in my weird judgment, I think it's okay to compare these two. We got Every Hour versus Death Camp. This one's going to Death Camp. I think this is Tyler's best intro track. Sella versus Buffalo. I'm going with Kanye here. Follow God versus Pilot. I'm going with Follow God. I took Run and Cherry Bomb out because those two are the weakest songs on the album, just to make it a bit more fair. Find Your Wings versus Closed on Sunday, and this one's Find Your Wings. On God versus Blow My Load. I'm going with Kanye here. That Pierre Bourne production is a classic. Everything We Need versus Two Seater. I'm going with Two Seater. It's actually a pretty good song. But Water versus the Brown Stains of Darkis Latifah. I'm going with Tyler again. And then God Is versus Effing Young / Perfect. The instrumental on Effing Young is immaculate, but this one has to go to God Is, one of Kanye's most passionate vocal performances of all time. But moving on, we got Hands On versus Smuckers. Easily Smuckers. Use This Gospel versus Keep the O's. I'm going with Use This Gospel. Amazing Clips reunion on here. And finally, Jesus Is Lord versus Okaga CA. This one's going to Tyler. And that is a grand total of 5 points for JIK and 6 points for Cherry Bomb. And guys, that is the end of today's video. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. And if you're pissed off about my goated opinions, leave a comment down below. Let me know how badly I hurt your feelings. Love you. Peace out.